Hi, this is Carol Pope.
Hi, I'm Kevin Staples.
And you're listening to Rainbow Country
with Mark Tara.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are those of the persons appearing on the program.
Today on Rainbow Country, IndigE-girl comedy, an Indigenous sketch comedy series. Founder and artistic producer Debbie Courchene fills us in on all things IndigE-girl comedy. Plus, my Big Brother Canada Season 10 coverage continues, and who ordered the triple? All that and more in episode 298, so stay tuned for Gay Talk Radio right here on Rainbow Country.
Hello, my name is Conchita.
And I'm Barbecue.
And my name is Hardcora. And we are the B-Girls.
You're listening to
Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
Well, hello and welcome to a brand new journey through Rainbow Country, as I like to call it, a little gay radio show working to give voice to the LGBT community and beyond. And as always, I am your tour guide through Rainbow Country. I'm producer and host, Mark Tara. By the way, Rainbow Country originates from CIUT-FM in Toronto, and now proudly in syndication on 12 outlets across Canada, from coast to coast to coast. The Yukon, British Columbia, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, the East Coast in Newfoundland, Ontario, even down to Buffalo, New York, and online. Well, thanks to you tuning in, streaming, downloading, but ultimately listening. Together, we continue to build Rainbow Country into a nationally syndicated gay radio show, a #1 LGBT podcast on Podomatic.com's Gay and Lesbian chart, as well as being recognized as Canada's #2 LGBT podcast on feedspot.com. So, today, IndigE-girl comedy, an Indigenous sketch comedy series. Their first stop was Toronto in March. The next stop, Winnipeg, May 7th. Debbie Courchene, founder and artistic producer, joins me to talk about all things IndigE-girl comedy. Plus in hour 2, music from LGBT artists, independent artists, voices that we've come to know and love in classic disco, classic 80s, classic house, and on this episode, I'm featuring some classic funk, some 80s, as well as some Canadian R&B, and some deep house. But at first, my Big Brother Canada Season 10 coverage continues with the most recent evicted house guests. Now, who ordered the triple?
It's happened before.
This week is very different.
Just 3 times in Big Brother Canada history.
Tonight is a triple eviction.
And you know what they say.
Let me show you guys what I can do. Just let me play.
The ghosts of the past are hard to shake. Tonight, the house guests are in for the ultimate haunting. But how can they prepare if they don't know what's coming?
Like something's going on. It scares me.
I feel nervous. I have a really bad feeling. This is crazy.
There's something going on there.
I feel like we're gonna be hit real hard. Pretty soon, everyone will be turning on everyone.
It's a cold equation.
It's a numbers game.
3 out of the 8 house guests will leave the house.
Are we gonna be able to survive?
I'll survive.
Only 5 can survive. Who will it be? Who can withstand the dreaded triple eviction?
This will change everything. House guests, I have the results. Gino, Marty, and Summer, I'm sorry you've been evicted from the Big Brother Canada house. Please say your goodbyes.
Love you, my dear.
Gino, Summer, Marty, first of all, congrats, a big congrats on making it onto Big Brother Canada Season 10. Well done. Plus, you're all heading to the jury. So here's the first question that's for all of you. What are you most looking forward to in the jury house? Gino, what are you most looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to not stressing as much as I was doing, because in that house, you stress out, you get paranoid, you're always in your head. There's never a time that you're actually not doing work. So I'm looking forward to the relaxation of it, but at the same time, the game is not done. I have to make a decision at the end and cast a vote. So I want to make sure that I cast a logical vote. I don't want to play with my emotions. Whatever happened in the past, happened in the past. So I want to see a well-rounded player win this, and I want to see how they got there, and that's how I'm going to make my decision at the end of the day.
And Summer, what are you most looking forward to?
I am looking forward to getting to relax, baby. I've been stressed for 55 days, and now I get to, as Marty would say, kick my feet up. So I am looking forward to that, because stress just doesn't look good on this queen. Let's be real.
Marty?
Same line as these two. Honestly, at this point, I just take care of myself a bit. I'm physically and mentally drained at this point. And like Gino said, we're not done yet, so we still need to decide who's going to win this whole thing. And like Gino, I want to try to find the player that played the best game possible, emotion aside. Whatever happened. I want the best person to represent season 10 to win.
Again, another question for all of you. Summer, let's start with yourself. Did you have a strategy going into the game?
Oh, Lord, did I have a strategy? No. Coming to the game, I did say that I wanted to be in a 6-person alliance. And what else did I say? I wanted to focus more on the vetoes rather than the HOHs, because you could only participate every other week if you won the HOHs. But really and truly, I threw that strategy out, and I just put my faith in the Lord. So yeah, my strategy was relying on God, and it got me pretty far.
And Marty, did you have a strategy going into the game?
Actually, coming into the game, there's two things that I focused on. I prepared myself physically for comps. I wanted to be able to win comps. And at the same time, I knew I would be probably one of the oldest house guests. So I wanted to make sure I would be able to fit in with a younger crew, because a lot of times the oldest people can be an easy target first few weeks. But besides that, that's probably my biggest mistake, is not having taught too much about how I would approach the game afterwards. So yeah, no, I didn't have much of a strategy.
And Gino, yourself?
So I came in with a different strategy. I came in saying that I want to get rid of all the floaters.
Why are you looking at me?
Don't look at me.
So yeah, I came in with that game plan. I wanted to be a calm beast, but clearly I didn't want to win one physical competition. The only competitions I won was trivia. I kind of surprised myself there. So basically, yeah, so that was my game plan coming in. Obviously that all blew up, and I had to revamp everything. And at that point, my goal or strategy was to build relationships with more people in the house, keep my social game strong, and that's what I did, and that's why I got this far against my game.
So Marty, this past week, you had all the power. You were HOH, head of household, and you used the power of the gummy bear to help you make your renomination choice. Why did you choose the power of the gummy bear?
Okay, we were in a final, we had an alliance of 5, and honestly, there was a lot of cracks in it, and we actually did a pretty good job up to that point. We got Tanisha, Herman, and Moose out, and we had the ability to take off Josh, which was a strong player as well. I felt that, honestly, after speaking with all 4 individually, I felt that Kevin would flip, and I felt that Jacelyn would flip. So the gummy bear thing for me was trying to pull everybody back together. Before I did it, I made a big speech about what we had accomplished, how iconic this alliance could have been. And for me to give Gino the option to put his gummy bear in or not, I knew he was going to throw it in, and I was hoping that it would show Helena and Kevin that he was all in. So hopefully we could have stayed together, because honestly, besides the 5, like I knew there was no chance I could build something with Josh, Summer, or Betty. So the 5 was everything I had, or I would have ended up along with Helena. But Helena was playing with Josh, so yeah.
Gino, why did you put in your gummy bear?
So I was ambushed. I walked in there. The situation was happening. I'm a team player. At the same time, I wanted to show trust to the 5. Clearly, that was the wrong decision. I should have just ate that gummy bear. It would have been way better for my game. I knew it once I picked that red one out and I was going on the block. That was probably the end of my journey. 2 strong players sit on the block together. There's no more pawn. It's like the house could flip and do whatever they want. And that's what happened.
Marty, looking back, do you regret using the power of the gummy bear?
To be honest, I think I was screwed either way. Like, so I knew my days were counted in the house. Like I said, I could not make it to the end alone. So my best bet was try to fix things with the 5. Like this, Gino said, he wanted to show he was a team player. So I was hoping in the other way that Kevin and Helena would have seen that as well. But the only problem in there, and that's what I didn't know at that point, is Helena and Kevin were playing with Josh. So it was pointless. So I think I was screwed either way. But in the end, it made great TV. And trust me, we're getting lots of questions about it.
So, Summer, Marty, the 2 of you are here because of the triple eviction. Summer, how stressful was that triple?
It was extremely stressful. I was blindsided, betrayed, and lied to. And because of that and my personal connection with Josh, I was not in a state to fight for my life because, anytime I looked at Josh, I just wanted to, I don't even want to say it, So it was just a horrible experience for me. And yeah, I didn't expect to be in that position. And honestly, when he won HOH, who would have thought that me celebrating his win was actually me celebrating my departure from the BB house? Yeah, it was horrible, to say the least.
So Josh did put you up on the block for eviction during the triple, and you had some strong words for him in the Expedia room. Where did that anger come from?
Oh, that anger came from the fact that prior to the eviction, we all had a conversation, Betty, Josh, and myself, about who we would put up and who we would save if there was a triple eviction headed our way. So I thought we had an agreement. When Josh was on the blog and he pitched to me just very lightly that I wouldn't be put on the block if he won HOH. And when I did ask him why he put me up, he said, everybody loves you. People are going to keep you, which was just nonsense. So I just felt like I was so close with this person throughout the game. We were probably in the most alliances together. And then you're just going to do this to me and put me at risk. So everything just, conjured up inside of me. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to let this man have it. If it's the end of my game, whether I cuss him or not, he's going to get a cussing. So I knew the end was headed my way. And I was like, oh, let me just lay it on this boy. Let me lay it on this boy because you're not about to blindside me and get away with it.
Marty, during the triple, you were playing in the POV to save your life. How difficult was that POV competition during the triple?
It was really difficult. Like I tried my best. I just couldn't get the sense of how to maneuver around the wheel. I had a couple of balls in and then I heard Jacelyn, but yeah, I was really fighting for it as I really wanted to get it. And even if I would have got that, I think I really had an uphill climb to get to the end. Like it would have been very hard, but I didn't want to go. And even right before the video meeting, I was trying to get Jacelyn and Helena to flip on them and play with me. So I went out swinging until last minute. I'm not a quitter. But yeah, no, that comp was really hard.
So my last question for you, and this question is for all of you. And Marty, let's start with yourself. Best part about being part of Big Brother Canada Season 10?
It's the most incredible experience I ever lived in my life. The hardest, but so rewarding. It's just meeting everybody, making new friends, doing something like this. So just incredible. Like I love every minute of it, even through the ups and downs.
And Summer?
I would say the experience and getting the opportunity to be on TV. It's always been a dream of mine. So just check that off of my bucket list felt nice. Also, prior to entering the house, I was just a wireless sales associate. I was bored with life. So this just picked me up. It gave me the boost that I needed. It also beat my ass, but it gave me the boost that I needed in life to just fuel the fire within me.
And Gino, best part about being part of Big Brother Canada's Season 10?
For me, it was one of the greatest, most unique experiences I've ever been through. It's something that I've never been through in my life. It also challenges you. You walk in there, like I walk in there thinking, oh, I got this. This is easy. This is like, it's a piece of cake. But I walked in there and I was challenged mentally, physically, every aspect that you could think of. And it was a huge challenge, and making it this far is a huge accomplishment, and I'm pretty happy with it.
Well said, all of you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a good day.
Big Brother Canada airs on Global TV Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Check your local listing for airtimes.
Hi, everybody. This is Gino Vanelli. You're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
Up next, IndigE-girl comedy. Debbie Courchene, hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I am well. Thank you for being here, to have your voice, your story be heard by the LGBT community and beyond. So thank you for this.
Yeah, thank you for having me here.
Oh, you're more than welcome. So we're gonna talk about all things comedy, stand-up comedy, sketch comedy, and even more. But I want to start here with yourself. Something that happened a few weeks ago, the Academy Awards, that was in late March, and aired the slap that was heard around the world. So in a nutshell, Chris Rock made a joke, a G.I. Jane joke about Jada Pinkett Smith, who happens to suffer from alopecia. Will Smith went up on stage and basically bitch slapped Chris Rock. Will Smith did apologize in writing. So heckling is one thing. For yourself, is it ever okay for someone to come up on stage and attack a comedian? Is that ever okay?
No, definitely not.
And what
is not okay.
And what are your thoughts on what happened live on air during the Academy Awards?
I definitely think there's a long-standing conflict between them that they've never been able to address, and then being the butt of the joke, emotions, and I'm sure everyone's indulging and having a lot of fun there, so the emotions can get higher. But I do think the line was definitely crossed in that conflict on stage, on live television, in front of a white audience, in addressing the violence towards Black women. It's very complex, it's very nuanced, but I don't think the action was justified the means.
Do you think that there are topics that are off limits when it comes to comedians, when it comes to comedy troupes? Are there issues? Are there topics that you think are off limits, especially in 2022?
Oh God, yes. There's so many things that people have found funny at the expense of others that have been demeaning towards large groups of people that need to be considered in addressing comedy. Like, yeah, it is good to go for the laugh, but not everyone is going to find it funny, and like having it at the expense of a wider range of people, right? This was very direct too. So I think even addressing that could have been dealt in better ways.
I've even heard some comedians saying that now they're in fear of going up on stage because essentially Will Smith made it okay for someone, an audience member, if they didn't like something, to potentially go up on stage and attack a comedian. Do you, as someone who is in this field, is a funny person, do you have that fear now?
Not necessarily. I don't think it set a precedent that like it's okay to go up and slap comedians when they make a joke that offends you. There's still a boundary in that, like, if you're not happy with what's happening on the stage, you can just leave. That is just as offensive, you know. Like having someone get up and leave your show is a good enough form of expressing your distaste and crossing boundaries with humor, because like a lot of the times it's always pushing the boundaries, right? It's like finding the humor in some of the hardest, darkest elements of life that you're trying to make light of. So Indigenous humor is a lot of teasing and poking at each other to like show forms of affection and caring, but they can cross lines, right? And then it trying to be funny is not an excuse for being mean.
Well said. Well said. I like that. So IndigE-girl comedy, what is this all about? IndigE-girl comedy. Talk to me about this, what's happening here.
IndigE-girl comedy is workshops that we are bringing to Indigenous women across Canada. So I think Indigenous women are hilarious. And our community is often ostracized, over-sexualized, and, you know, forced into clerical positions to take care of people. And very few opportunities are given to them to develop skills in new areas. And one of them for me was comedy. And so to be able to set up a workshop to like hand over tools and understandings on how to embrace comedy in their storytelling was the basis of this whole workshop, so that we can take comedic women from different practices, so like acting, directing, sketch, stand-up, and give them new tools to practice that vocabulary, and then put them on stage and let them get that feedback so that they can learn.
So Toronto, Winnipeg, Saskatoon, Vancouver, these are the cities that IndigE-girl comedy will be holding a series of workshops. Why these particular cities?
Because I wanted to have like the greatest show of all time of Indigenous women, like all the hilarious Indigenous women. And when I came up with it, it was COVID time, so I had to isolate everything. And so that's where I came up with the 4 different cities. And again, like 4 is a very sacred number. I'm still working within the Indigenous sacred number. So like 4 cities, 7 comedians in every city. And just to reach like further enough into the community that we can like touch A-listers and people that have established themselves, as well as open the door for women that have wanted to do comedy and have never had the opportunity to. Taking comedy workshops costs a lot of money just to like sit and practice being funny when you could just do that with your friends, you know. But then having the accredited like workshop with working with professionals, like people from Second City and well-established and seasoned comedians, gives them the confidence that they can actually do it in front of an audience.
So this series of workshops, it's in support of Indigenous women in comedy. What are some specifics that you are looking to give these women in particular? Are there specifics? Specific tools or experiences that you hope they come away with?
I think definitely just writing and practice, right? It's a matter of like practicing jokes. So my dad's like a huge jokester, and he's always been like after me to be like, oh, you have to go practice your jokes. You have to tell everyone you know, so you can like nail down your punchlines and, you know, find out what works and what doesn't work.
And he's right.
So yeah, exactly. And so for me, it's like handing that knowledge over from my dad to the community to be like, it's time to practice. It's time to get those jokes and the timing and everything down, right? Like you got to be the annoying dad of the group.
Even if you're a woman.
Yes.
So
mom jokes. No, mom jokes are annoying too.
So IndigE-girl comedy, what prompted you to create this? Was there a moment that happened? Was there a flashpoint?
I've wanted to do stand-up comedy since I was a kid. And then I've never been able to find the avenues to which I could go and do it. And so I started looking for stand-up comedy workshops during the pandemic when I had all the free time in the world. I did not. I was double working myself as usual. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to take a comedy workshop. And so I participated in Blind Tiger's improv class. And I had like a phenomenal teacher who is like, just like the sweetest, sparkliest, like kindest woman. And she made it like comedy, not something to be afraid of for me. So she would always just like make it light and nice. And because like Indigenous identities and messaging has been rooted in residential schools and colonization and the constant education of non-Indigenous groups to what is happening to us, it just got exhausting. And I'm like, I can't think of anything funny because everything it comes down to education. And I'm tired of it. I think there's a lot of people doing a lot of good work, but I think it's time now that we run parallels in the education in showing that we can make light of situations, because we do. That's how we deal with our trauma. And you know, we have very, very dark humor, and this teacher made it not so scary. And so that's what I wanted to bring to other women, to like we carry so much trauma that it's okay to like see the light in everything, and to make light of very traumatic experiences.
Earlier, you mentioned that Indigenous women are funny.
Yes.
Talk to me about how you see that. How does that manifest in regards to, are there specific types of humor you think that Indigenous women bring to the stage?
It's usually in storytelling. So what happens is you'll get a bunch of aunties sitting in a circle sharing stories about what happened to them. And the laughter that comes out of that is so heartwarming. We did the IndigE-girl sketch comedy show in Toronto with, Raclette, Cherish Blood, Denise McLeod, Samantha Mandaman, and Jamie Whitecrow, and Stephanie Pingowish, and Janet Antone. And they would be sitting in the dressing rooms, and they would be cackling so loud through these gentrified buildings of like, so many people have been displaced, but they were occupying that space, and still like the laughter and the brightness that came through the halls of of them just sitting in circles, talking to each other, cracking jokes about, exes and sexual things and, mishaps of stories that have, of unfortunate events that have happened in their life. And, it's that ability to connect with one another, to connect about the things that they all identify with, which makes it like the greatest sense of humor. If you ever get a chance to sit in those circles.
This series of workshops, would you like to see this series of workshops potentially be on TV, maybe APTN or something?
That would be cool. Always. I'm still working.
Have you thought
up
about
to
that aspect of things?
I have. I'm currently working to build a body of work so that we could find a format that would work, that we can then translate into something that is repeatable, good, and supports the work of these women.
Is there an Indigenous comedy festival?
Not that I know of as of right now. It could pop up. There is a lot of women emerging. So Dakota Hebert has been like the woman of the hour, who has been working so hard at her comedy, she's working on an APTN show and traveling across Canada and still going to like stand-up mics in every city that she's in, to like constantly practice her comedy. And so I met her when we were both younger, and I saw that and I was like so jealous. I was like, you get that opportunity to go off and practice your comedy. And she's so talented, just naturally talented, hilarious. And so like seeing that and watching her grow is like one of the hugest motivators for me, is to like create that opportunity for other women as well, that I never got, that people were like, oh, you're funny, you should do this. And then that's it, versus like not having the knowledge and how to execute and improve my skills on my own.
And on that note, we will return after this Rainbow Country update.
Hi, I'm Paul Poirier, Canadian champion in ice dance and 3-time Olympian, and you're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Terra.
Hot Docs 2022, queer documentaries, explosive subjects, and Canadian comedy legends. April 28th to May 8th. In person in Toronto and streaming nationally, coast to coast to coast. So no matter where you are in Canada, you can be part of this year's festival, where you can see some LGBTQ documentaries like My Old School, from queer actor Alan Cummings. Framing Agnes, an all-star cast of transgender artists, tell the story of a young trans woman who entered a sex disorder study in 1958, from award-winning trans filmmaker Chase Joint. Boylesque, about an 82-year-old drag queen performing in communist Poland. Queer, my friends. A South Korean filmmaker documents her best friend as he comes of age, realizing his sexual identity as a gay man. Hot Docs 2022, queer documentaries, explosive subjects, and Canadian comedy legends. April 28th to May 8th. In person in Toronto and streaming nationally. For more information, hotdocs.ca.
Hi, I'm singer-songwriter Steve Grand. You're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
So I believe it's pronounced Misco Way Productions.
Yes, you nailed it.
Yay. This is an Indigenous created digital media. This is your production company. What led you to create Misco Way Productions?
So I was studying communications at Simon Fraser University. And through my whole studies, I was examining the representation of Indigenous people in media. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it was based around news and how news stories would bring forward very racist issues. And then at the beginning of my studies, I discovered that like they were always saying the message, like the message needs to be positive to reach, because you're going to reach more people with positive messaging. Yes, shock and awe gets views, and that's what they usually do with traumatizing and stereotypical representation of Indigenous people, is like, oh my God, all these horrible things happen to Indigenous people. But that's the norm. And then the representation of that continues the belief systems that Indigenous people aren't able to learn or adapt or be modernized, be within the modern world. But here we are, And so in examining comedy news, which has been like one of the biggest motivators. So Last Week Tonight and all the late night shows were always motivators for me to be like, where's the Indigenous representation in that? And so we were so lucky to some of the writers for the sketch show wanted to do the news, a satire news section. And I was like, yes, finally we could do it. And so we were able to have a writing room in which they were able to address news and make it funny, and poking fun at all the things that Ontarians hate, like Rob Ford, or is that his name? Ford. Anyways, the mayor. Doug Ford. And the Queen, and so it's just able to address these things that we have within our community and open up the door for other people to be welcomed into our circles of understanding what our humor is.
So Misco Way Productions, this is producing IndigE-girl, the IndigE-girl comedy series? Yes. And so Misco Way, Misco in Ojibwe is actually the red, so it's the red way. And there's this joke, there's the right way, the wrong way, and the Ojibwe. And so that's where the name Misco Way kind of came out of, is that classic joke. And why did you pick this specific word? Why was it, what was it about this word that spoke to you? Misco is probably the 8th in Anishinaabe word that I've ever learned. So most of the words I know are prayers and ceremonial. And so both my siblings are learning Ojibwe, but I'm on the West Coast, so I don't have as much access to our language as they do. And so in my Google search of Indigenous word, Misco Way, Misco emerged out of one of the first words that actually derive from language, is colors too. And so Misco is the red, which is also the red people, the Indigenous people, the Indigenous way, the red way. Do you think you're funny? Sometimes. And was it your dad that got you onto this path, do you think?
I think so. And with my family, like I'm the one who always has the punchlines and the jokes in our conversation. So we're all just sitting around talking, and then I'll come up and I'll say the funny thing. Like at Christmas, we were talking about my brother. He had a couple of cats, and they were old boys, and my sister called them like a gay couple. And so when my brother left his apartment, the cats got left behind with the owner, and then they passed away, and it was really sad. And we're like, oh, they like missed Ash, and they passed away, and like they were a gay throuple, you know. They were sad that their third had left them.
So we've been living through something that I don't think anybody thought we would be living through, a global pandemic. How has COVID-19, a global pandemic, how has this affected you as a funny person, as a comedian? Because I'm sure you're used to going out and being on stage and doing stand-up and doing sketch comedy with different individuals and groups. How has COVID-19 and this global pandemic, how has it impacted you?
Well, the fact that Zoom made it accessible for new people. And that's where this whole workshop, that's where this whole workshop came into play, where I was like, this is accessible for people who haven't had the opportunity, who are scared, who don't trust their abilities, and that they have the protection to be able to practice being comfortable and funny at home in their own space. And so that they can build up their confidence in their skills. And so that we can then throw them in front of an audience and let them practice there and get that feedback. So there were so many challenges at the beginning of the pandemic in receiving that feedback. So even doing Zoom workshops, you weren't able to hear people's laughters or feedback. But as the technology kind of developed to like have emojis of hand clapping, and we would unmute our mics while people were performing so you could hear the snickers and the reactions, was like a huge, like break those barriers that made comedy so hard to do digitally. And then because of that barrier was broken, people were able to learn how to practice comedy in a safe environment. And so that's where this project came out of it. And it brings access to like remote communities. So our Winnipeg show, we have one woman living on a reserve in a more northern community. The digital divide is such a still an issue, and like trying to get access to Wi-Fi. But because she was able to, she's now has access to learn, you know, so that we're able to bring these skills to people who would normally be left outside of our community, who are also integral to our community and our laughter and our humor, you know, res humor, lesbians, you know, those kind of, that representation that we don't see that often, and now have the opportunity to be broken open.
So this series, is this a virtual series, or will this be something that's done in person as well?
It's done in person, and then we're recording it and then putting it online so that they have resources to show their work and work as a portfolio, plus, you know, publicity and getting the snowball effect of people seeing that. And we want to reach our community, and part of that is being represented in the digital world.
So there's a book called The Awesome Music Project that talks about, among other things, it talks about the healing power, the healing aspect of music. Do you think that comedy has healing properties?
For sure. So it's like, it's always been even a part of our ceremonies. Like going to sweat lodges and like partaking in ceremonies there's always laughter, right? When we get together as a community and we're able to see ourselves in other people. And then in that reflection, that's where the humor comes in, right? To see someone else's mishap and then be able to giggle with them in support, to be like, well, that was very unfortunate. Like, you don't know how to skin a rabbit? Oh, too bad. You know, like, you're a really good auntie, you know, just keep trying.
So over the last few years, a lot has been coming to light when it comes to Canada's history, Indigenous communities, residential schools. Do you see a time when comedy could be used to help heal Indigenous communities and Canada's past? Do you see a time when comedy can be a healing force for that?
Yeah, it is now. Like Tim Fontaine's Walking Eagle. They posted a meme about how the Pope was going to come and apologize to Indigenous people, but the meme was like, the Pope's going to have to pawn his hat and his necklace to be able to reconcile with the Indigenous people, you know. And then we find humor in the pain of making fun of the Pope, that he's going to have to sell his most prized possessions and representations of who he is to be able to equalize himself. So, like, again, to bring this back to our conversation about you know, the comedy at other people's expenses, you know, it's a matter of punching up, right? And so that to address and like embrace our humor is to always direct it in a way that's going to heal the trauma and like bring light to the atrocities, and also say it's going to be okay in the most absurdist ways.
Yeah, I hear you. So the IndigE-girl comedy series, when people attend this series, is there an ultimate message, takeaway, tools aside, in regards to writing, that sort of thing? Is there a message that you hope your audiences, your attendees will come away with after being part of the IndigE-girl comedy series?
I hope they feel lighter. I hope they see big-bodied brown women stand up, be strong, be funny, and like create our own circle again, that we're able to enjoy our humor and enjoy the things that we find funny together, as well as then be able to reach outside of, and like open that door towards non-Indigenous people to see that and then want to learn, you know. Like a lot of this is then motivated by seeing movements of Black joy, and how their community, the Black community, has worked so hard in maintaining education, but also focusing on their well-being and celebrating their joy. And so this is emulated after that is that it's time for us to let go of the pain for a while and be carefree and enjoy our humor and see our representation that encourages more people to get out there, that it is accessible, that there is room for Indigenous women outside of very stereotypical and racist confounds, and that they don't have to fight, you know. And I think that's what that creating a safe space for these women is so that they feel safe, so that they can enjoy themselves and celebrate their joy and laugh.
So the IndigE-girl comedy series, when does this all take place? When is this happening?
It's happening May 7th at the Winnipeg Comedy Festival at the Gas Station Theater in Winnipeg.
Okay, and then the other cities have already happened then?
No, we're still in the works of lining up our facilitators and venues. So we're still in the works of lining those up. So we're just kind of taking each show on as we go.
So Winnipeg's the next one, the next show for you.
Yes.
Debbie, I have to say thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me here. It's been great.
IndigE-girl comedy next up May 7th in Winnipeg. For more information, miskaway.com.
Bill 7, to ban discrimination in employment, government services, and housing, based on a person's sexual orientation, was up for a vote at Queen's Park. Most NDP and Liberal MPPs supported the bill, but without some progressive Conservative legislators backing, a divisive split could rack the province. 4 PCs decided to break party ranks to vote with their conscience and support Bill 7. Cabinet Minister and MPP Dennis Timbrell did it to show solidarity for his beloved brother, the well-known drag queen Rusty Ryan. And for me, a gay politician who was not yet out, I had to take a stand. We were known as the Gang of Four. I'm former Cabinet Minister and MPP Phil Gillies. The date, December 2nd, 1986, when LGBT rights came to Ontario.
And just like that, this little gay journey through Rainbow Country has come to an end. For the full 2-hour episode, head over to marktara.com where everything is connected and hit the archives banner. To keep up to date with the show, follow me on socials at Mark Tara. The podcast for Rainbow Country is available on all major platforms, including audible.com and iHeartRadio. And finally, I want to take this time to thank you for taking your time to be with me. Remember, with everything that's going on in the world, keep this in mind. We are living in days of making dreams come true. So believe in yourself, and the world will believe in you.
I'm Sky Gilbert, and you're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.